Welcome to Kardec Radio. While you wait for our program to begin, check our new site. It's Kardec Flix, where Spiritism is just a click away. Also, check our publisher, Kardec Publisher, and its first 6 books. Each one is a journey to inner empowerment and love. Kardec Radio, where we nourish ourselves daily.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio in another program, Inner Journey with Paul and Stephen. We have been doing this inner journey because this amazing book, which is a true masterpiece, the day humanity discovers this literature, it's going to be a new era. Emmanuel, the author, through the hands of the amazing medium Chico Xavier, brings to us a journey within. As he said in the preface of this book, 1941, he says that the Christ has personally called us. And look at the timing in which this message was psychographed. In the middle of the Second World War, telling us what? We can't be discouraged. We can't be in dismay, sad or depressed about anything. We need to do like Saul did. Get up, forget the past, look forward. And as Abigail and Stephen said in the previous chapter, love, work, hope, and forgive. Now, Saul of Tarsus, transformed, is in a true journey. Some people think that the day he saw Jesus in Damascus, life was going to be easy peasy. No. Life is what it is. In spite of the vision, of the shift, Saul of Tarsus has to walk to conquer his redemption, and the same for us. He's alone now. He doesn't have friends, family. He decides to retreat in the mountains, Taurus Mountains, in the surroundings of Tarsus, his birth city. And Emmanuel says, in this chapter 4, first apostolic endeavors. Now, Saul of Tarsus is a simple workman who displayed a remarkable change in his features. His ascetic appearance had grown more pronounced. What does this mean? Ascetic means that he had self-discipline, no indulgence in terms of the pleasures of the world, and he practiced contemplation. It all revealed his thoughtful and resolute mind, but also a profound and an indefinable peace. See? He surrendered to it all. Jesus said to him, don't kick the goats, don't resist. He didn't fight the people. Many people become spiritists and they start fighting with their family members, with everyone in their lives. That's not the message. The message is not to fight. The message is to conquer ourselves. And that's what he did. So how were his days? His days were such that people in his city admired his humble attitude. He kept Abigail's advice as a permanent message for his soul. He got up every morning aiming to love everything and everybody. He worked as hard as he could to continue on the straight and narrow path. Each day presented itself to Saul as a valuable partner full of opportunity, and within this frame of mind, he weaved intricate carpets and tents, exercising patience that would be crucial for other tasks still awaiting him at the crossroads of life. Nighttime was a blessing for his spirit. So, the first part of this chapter is asking you and I to revisit our daily discipline. Are we waking up willing to love everything and everyone? Because if we're not, we're still not adjusted to Christ. Yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I don't like my work. I dislike my family. Oh, my life could change. In that attitude, we're not of the Christ. So you and I are to revisit today our daily discipline. Do I wake up every day willing to love everything and everyone? To love my housework, the job duties, my family intricacies, and everything else that happens. Am I enjoying this learning of life? Saul of Tarsus was transformed, and he practiced it all with great discipline and surrender. Did he know what was going to happen next? No. You see the difference between him and us? We don't know what's going to happen next, and we're here anxious. Oh my God, but when? When is that new job going to come? When am I going to find that person? When am I going to get married? When am I going to have a child? And we are not in the present. But we need this present, says Emmanuel. That moment gave him the patience and the discipline for future endeavors. So today, we are in the right place at the right time with the right people to practice new virtues that we'll need for future responsibilities. So if, for example, if you participate in a spiritist center, go there and do your best. Don't worry, like I want to do more, but I want to do this, but I want to do you shouldn't want anything but to be helpful. And wait. Because one day you'll be called for the next task. And that's what happened to Saul. Saul of Tarsus was visited by Barnabas. You remember the disciple in Jerusalem? Yes. He came and said that after a conversation with Peter, he was advised to come and invite Saul of Tarsus to join him at the church of Antioch. They had great works, but they didn't have educated workers. Saul was happy. He was open to do it, but he said, I have a condition. I will continue working as a weaver because I don't want to be a burden to the church. And Barnabas accepted it. Ready and willing, says Emmanuel, Saul of Tarsus was soon settled in Antioch, where he began working actively with the friends of the gospel. During the long hours of the day, he repaired carpets or kept busy weaving. Thus he earned what he needed to live on and became a model in the new church. His name was also mentioned a lot, but he learned to wait, preferring the lowliest tasks in the community. And the thing is this: whenever he wanted to talk about the teachings, he wasn't able to. So people were like, how come he was so eloquent? He was still working on himself. Mhm. And the church kept growing and progressing, and Emmanuel says, everyone loved their daytime obligations, waiting for the restfulness of time in the church meetings, as if it were a blessing from God, away from the focal point of Pharisaic demands. Jews cooperated with Gentiles, all feeling united by the overriding bounds of fraternity, mutual trust, devoted friends, and an agreeable understanding comprised sacred nourishment for the soul. So while Saul of Tarsus is practicing his humility, the church is in true unity and fraternity. So it's a great lesson for all of us who are participants of Spiritist centers to acquire this level of practice, where in our daily life we love our daily obligations, and when we get together we have mutual trust, he says, devotion, and understanding. Kardec, when he established the Spiritist Society of Paris, the Spiritist Society of Parisian Studies, to be more precise, in 1861, he understood that it needed not only rules and regulations, but a main slogan, which was work, work, solidarity, and tolerance. Without these three elements, no organization, Spiritist organization, can move forward in peace and progress. Work meaning being useful, solidarity meaning we're working together, and tolerance, understanding each other in our shortcomings, because none of us are perfect. So here we see Saul of Tarsus working in that fashion to the point that the Church of Antioch, remember, from Tarsus to Antioch, all in Turkey nowadays, from west to east, we'll see that in Antioch, the works started growing and attracting people from all places, to the point that they received a very important visit. The young physician, Luke, later, the apostle Luke, came, visited them, listened to the extensive exhortations of Saul of Tarsus, enchanted by this message of the gospel. He accepted the invitation and said that from that day on he would be a member of this Christian community. But before he goes, he says something that is very important and historic. He says, brothers, as I say goodbye, because he had to leave to Greece, I take with me the purpose to work for the Master, and I shall employ all the resources of my humble abilities to that end. I have no doubt as to how far this spiritual movement will spread. From what I've seen, it will transform the whole world. However, I feel the need for us to imprint the best expression of unity on its endeavors. I am referring to the label that identifies us within the community. That is, I do not see in the world the word way, because they used to say people of the way, men of the way, church of the way. I don't see in the word way a designation that rightly expresses what we're doing. Christ's disciples have been called travelers, pilgrims, and wayfarers. But there are travelers and roads of every sort. Evil, too, has its pathways. Wouldn't it be better to call one another Christians? This label would remind us of the Master's presence. It will give us strength in his name, and it will characterize perfectly our activities in accordance with his teachings. Luke's suggestions was approved with overall joy. And then we're going to see here Luke making a historic presence. From that day on, we have the name. Right, Lupe? Yes, we have the name Church of the Way. So Lupe is now here symbolizing this great moment. Right, Lupe? Thank you. Thank you, Lupe. So, Christians, if you hear this word and you're creeped out because you feel that Christianity failed us in so many ways because of Inquisition and Crusades, remember, the people who took those actions were not Christians. They infiltrated themselves in the pathways of Christianity, used and abused time and again the Christ and his message to do the most heinous crimes. But for us, we will restore in our humanity the true meaning of being Christian, the presence of the Christ in us at all times. And he says to us that Luke left, and from that day on, everybody understood that there would be a new day. The Church of Antioch continued to display the finest marks of progress. Why? Because of the unity, the agreeability, the understanding, as Kardec says, the work, the solidarity, and the tolerance. Till they received a letter from Peter in Jerusalem saying that they had problems, they needed help. James, John's brother, both sons of Zebedee, he was murdered. They needed help. And Barnabas and Paul, Saul of Tarsus, traveled all the way from Antioch to Jerusalem on foot to help Peter. But Peter was nowhere to be found. He was imprisoned. He was imprisoned because he had a simple request. Can we have James' body to bury him in our community? And then he was imprisoned. So the church was left with the leadership of old James. And old James, scared as he was, he started changing many things. He started changing everything to the point that he started transforming, right, Lupe? You don't agree with James either. I don't. But what can we say? He did what he could. Right. I agree. I agree, Lupe. Yes, come here. See, even Lupe is here now with us to remind us of not surrendering to the conventions of the world. We are going to focus in this part of the chapter in the point where, while in one hand, Saul is practicing humility, on the other hand, Some of the disciples of the Christ, like James, are surrendering to the conventions of the world, transforming the simple church in another synagogue so it would secure them in their needs. Saul of Tarsus does not agree. Everything was so changed to the point that old James didn't even invite Barnabas and Saul of Tarsus to stay in the church. They had to go to Barnabas' sister, Maria, to stay over. And then they meet. Saul of Tarsus is going to meet Barnabas' nephew, John Marcus, later the evangelist. Yeah, not John the evangelist, but John Marcus. John Mark, forgive me. And then they talk and they get to know that somewhat they have to take a new route. Paul of Tarsus is realizing that the only way to save the teachings of the gospel that were being suffocated by Judaic traditions was to go to the Gentiles. He says to us, what I mean, Barnabas, is that we must go to the Gentiles wherever they may be found. Only in this way will the Christian movement acquire the character of universality. Barnabas is surprised, but then later he agrees, and John Mark joins them. We're going to stop here because this is a 200-page chapter. And we're going to ask ourselves, 1, what is our daily discipline? 2, are we practicing humility? And 3, are we surrendering to the conventions of the world instead of staying strong in our mutual trust, our devotion, and our mutual understanding? Let us meditate on these questions as we put a pause on this beginning of a new endeavor. The first apostolic endeavor of Saul and Barnabas, the historians say it took them 2 years and 1,400 miles traveled on foot. And people feel that to drive a car 30 minutes away to go to a spiritist center is far away. Well, let's meditate on how can we best shape up our minds and have the courage to fulfill God's will and do what we need to do, friends. If you have any question or comment, feel free either to write here in the platforms, the chats, or at kardecradio@gmail.com. Till then, next week we'll finish this chapter, the second half of it. We wish you many blessings. Many, many blessings. Thank you, friends.